Hello and welcome to the Naked Truth About podcast. I am Danielle Hellebrand, executive coach, keynote speaker and columnist at Better Brains at Work.
And I'm Beverley Wilson-Wünsch, professor at the International University of Bad Honnef in Germany.
We often talk about the need for real and honest conversation about work and life in a community whose members invite, encourage and inspire each other because people need people. And today we have the opportunity to talk to another wonderful guest. We have Anouk Lagae with us today, who is joining us from Belgium.
Hello everyone.
Thank you. Welcome. Good to see you.
Likewise.
Finally, a face to a name.
Yeah, that's true. Anouk, you started your career with Unilever. You also had international sales and marketing roles at, amongst others, Coca-Cola and Duvel Moorgat. You hold a degree in commercial engineering and now you are the CEO of Accent Jobs in Belgium. And for the listeners, Accent Job is a temp-to permanent recruitment agency with the largest network of specialist branches in Belgium. And what is amazing is that Accent Job has been voted a great place to work for 17 years in a row. And that is just whoa. That is whoa, Anouk. And we're going to talk about how you all managed to do that later on. Anouk and I met at the Happiness at Work conference in Antwerpen last year, where you were the main sponsor and gave a wonderful keynote. I liked your energy, I told you that. I wanted to get in touch with you. And I visited you on one of your trainings locations where there was such a positive vibe and energy. And now, here we are. How great is that?
Fabulous. Thank you
Wonderful.
so much.
And there is so much we would love to talk about, Anouk. I hardly know where to start, so let's just jump in.
Sure, just shoot.
Anouk, when we prepared for this podcast and we dove deeper into your background, there are a lot of things that stood out for us. And one of the things for me was you being an alchemist. There is this quote from the book The Alchemist of Paulo Coelho where he said something like, I learned that the world has a soul and that whoever understands that soul can also understand the language of things. And that implies having a deep feeling and inner knowing about the interconnectedness of us as human beings with the world around us. Or, as you say, you like to create value and impact in daily lives with respect and balance for all its ecosystems. So, Anouk, when did this deep systemic feeling and appreciation of this interconnectedness started to grow inside of you?
Well, it's obviously a journey. It's a life journey. It probably started of being born in the family I'm born, and with my parents and mainly my father with a huge respect for nature and looking around every time and looking at wonders and but there is an innate curiosity in myself and I've always been looking for the why. Why are these flowers blooming? Why are the bees happy? Why? So, and that's in small things, but obviously in much more big things, like why is this brand a love brand, or why is this company growing so well? So yeah, I've always been fascinated by the why. But probably the moment of true epiphany came when I was working for Coca-Cola in Australia, and where we had acquired a business in Hong Kong based on traditional Chinese medicine. And it was my task as a marketing manager for the healthy beverages, the waters and the teas. It was my task to look into this acquisition and make a brand of it. And so I was sitting literally on the ferry and opening my first documents. I was very intrigued by this all. And that was the real moment when, like, oh my God, all this art and all this science, and nature, seasons, food is medicine, prevention is better than cure. It all came together, and it was a passion, and it has never let me loose again. Yeah.
But Anouk, it seems as though you're not only just someone that loves nature and loves food and all of that. You seem to be a great lover of people also. As a matter of fact, you mentioned that one of your goal, and I quote you specifically, is to surround yourself with passionate, bright people and be the catalyst to bring out the very best in them, to unlock the potential in each employee, elevating them and the business to new heights, and to create an environment and energy where people can flourish and be the best they can be. And I love you for that already.
Wow.
I've always thought that when you have a someone that works in HR and that understands people, then you have me literally at your feet. Tell us, how do you do that on a daily basis?
Yeah, well, again, when in my whole career, and I've worked mainly in fast-moving consumer goods, so not people business. But every time I was looking at the drivers of success and why is this team innovating again and why is this team successful again, it always comes down to people and to being in a safe environment where you can be you and where you're not judged and where you don't feel unsafe and where it's not led by fear, fear to fail, fear. And so all these insights have brought me to the essence. It's actually always about people, any type of
Yeah.
business, even high tech, big tech, it's always about people. And the key to driving a successful business is unlocking the key of that environment and these people feeling, yeah, thriving. So it happens to be, and it's a coincidence now that I'm in a people's business, or maybe it's not a coincidence, but yeah, it's a very logical conclusion, and too many leaders have lost sight of that essence, and actually people are gold. Every single person from a baby is gold. And I find it, for me as a manager, as a leader, I think it's my challenge, or my task, to create a safe environment, a great environment where people feel at ease and where they can flourish. And that's probably my most important task.
It's a very interesting thing, Anouk, because from my years of working in the world of business, I have often found that, many companies, I cannot remember going to an interview where the HR office wasn't at the very back
Mm-hmm.
of the company's
Mm-hmm.
entrance. It's a back entrance that the new person would walk into, where the garbage cans are and where you have to go through security because you are probably seen as someone that they might or might not hire.
Or
And I often
fire.
feel that, or exactly. And I often feel that sometimes people are seen as a necessary evil,
Mm,
more so than valuable resources that can actually contribute to the success of
yeah.
organizations. Do you think that companies are changing these days, or
I think there is an evolution going on for sure, but probably the last 100 years. Well, look at even the name, human resource.
that's right?
It's
We're resourceful
incredible.
humans,
Oh,
not the
yes,
human resource.
no, exactly. But honestly, it dates back from industrialization, where there were,
That's right.
and people were literally input equals so many hours output. And then machines came, but so we were not much different than machines. And so, but I think now that we are much more into services businesses, and it's not just about labor and doing hours with the hands, there is definitely an evolution, but probably because everyone is now talking about the war for talent. I hate to talk about that because for me there's an abundance of talent. I see talent everywhere. I just see them not always fitting into the right environments. But yeah, I think we need that type of crisis, probably, or pressure, to fully understand that it's about success, is about, or growing a company is about growing people. And if you treat your
Right.
people well, your company will grow. And actually,
That's
you're
right.
so right, Beverly, because when people want high output and we want high profit or high volume, or so therefore we will invest in sales or we will invest in marketing or we will invest in new machines. And only when there's money left at the very end, we might think of growing our people.
Right.
And when there's a crisis, the first thing we do is cut on people or
Cut. That's
cut
right.
on people investments. We've just lost sight of the essence. But the companies who start to realize this, why is there now a push of ESG? Why is there now a push for greater place to work, etc.? It's because people realize that if you want to regain talents or if you want to realize your dreams with your companies, you will need the people. So there's a counterbalance going on, as always in nature. When you go too far, and we've been too far in going for profit at the
That's
cost
right.
of people, at the cost of the planet,
Yeah.
and there's a rebalance going on. But it might start hurting even a little bit more,
That's
before we are
true.
really fundamentally willing to make a shift in mindset.
Yeah, Anouk, and you're so right. And I think for a too long time, it was all about profit optimization. Now it's also about doing good in the world. The scope has changed, and so has the role of a leader, I think. Now, our role as a leader is to help people grow. And, just to make money cannot be the ultimate goal. It's an imperative, it's an outcome if you have competent people who are able to grow, if you have happy customers, and so on. And I also think an important question is, who are we going to put in a position of power? And my question to you would be, now hearing you speak, how do you combine purposeful leadership with profit and economics?
Well, luckily, it's in the DNA of the company I work for. We have one mission, and it's we embrace every talent to spark joy in their lives. So it's already in the mission. So whatever I'm doing, or I want to fight for, or I want to build every day, luckily, it's something so purposeful and so beautiful. So that is a wonderful fit. Of course, we are also private equity backed. We have fantastic investors who also want a return. But as long as we can do it in the right way, we don't want to be the biggest, but we want to be the best. We don't want to, it's not about volume, it's about creating value. And as long as the results are positive, but the profit is a result, it's an outcome of doing the right things and do them well. And it should not be at any cost. And the day that I need to do it or we need to do it at any cost, I won't be the right leader for that, because that's not what I can stand for. Yeah, in my due diligence, I've been quite strict as well. I asked the founders and the owners, like the shareholders, what is your dream? What is your dream? Because if their answer would have been, we want to become the biggest in Europe or the biggest in the world, I would not have joined them, because I know that should never be an objective. But the answer actually was, we want to be the best company and the most profitable one. So, which means actually do less things, but do them better, and people are willing to pay for it. You create value. It should never be about creating volume. It's about value creation, and
Yeah.
that you do in with respect to the ecosystems. And if you don't do that, it's short-term thinking, and that that boomerang will come back, and that's not what I want to be part of. So
I'm so touched by all the things you're saying.
really.
I mean, my heart is really, really fluttering at the moment when I hear someone talk about people like that. It makes me want to work for you immediately.
Oh well, yeah.
One of the things I heard you say some time ago is that you would like to be the Apple of HR. And that's a big dream, really. It is, especially when you have so many people dealing with that. It's really profit over people, oftentimes. My question is that is it really possible, considering people are so different? Human beings are unique, they are hard to satisfy.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult, I
True,
think, to
but
treat people on an individual basis.
yeah, but the question is actually what is behind that statement. So what I meant with that or mean with that statement is actually Apple dares to go a whole different way, you know. And when old technology was black and boring and look at my
Right.
keyboard and everything you see, you know, they dare to go for white. Everyone was
Yeah.
serious and strict. They call themselves an Apple, you know, fresh and crisp. They are looking for the round squares and the peg holes, you know, so
Oh,
they are looking for different thinking. It's also a lifestyle brand. You want to be part of that community because they think differently. And that's what I mean or what I meant with becoming the Apple of the HR. We are extremely innovative. We constantly challenge ourselves IT wise, but also even service wise. We just came with a big innovation to go for anonymous CVs. So we don't want to share the
mm,
CVs anymore with our companies, with our clients.
mhm,
We don't mention the name anymore. We don't mention the age anymore. We don't mention where they live because it's unconscious bias and it's not relevant. You know, so it's a big innovation, and we dare to do things differently, and we hope that we will create so many fans that adhere to that philosophy, and that's what is behind the Apple of the HR.
wonderful.
Oh, and that means also this different mindset. This is so amazing, Anouk, which made me think, you studied commercial engineering. What do you think about inner engineering, working on yourself? Because
Oh,
when my cup is full and I know who I am, then I also know what my strengths and challenges are. So, this inner engineering, I came up with that word when I looked at your
I love
CV.
it.
How do you see that?
Oh my God, it's an absolute necessity. You can only grow as a leader when you're looking for feedback, when you're open to risk. It's hard, honestly. It's not easy. I really want a team who dares to say no to me. Again, that's not easy. I also need a neurodiverse team. I want people from every angle, which again is harder to manage than all like-minded people. But only then you come with the best innovations or things that suit most what society needs. But it means indeed that sometimes you have that mirror and that feedback that you need to work on. I have so many type of coaches, you know, of different kinds that from time to time I go and see them. And probably 20 years ago, I was much more like being on the fence and I want to change the world. And, you know, with my male power, I will go and change the world. And I've started to realize that it's not about at all about changing the world or changing them. I mean, the best I can do for the world is change myself and grow me as a person. And if I grow as a person to become a better leader, to become a better mom, to become a better wife, then I will change. It will be a ripple effect. Yeah, from my close circle to a wider effect, and so I'm not there anymore to go and fight. I want to work on myself, and it's never done. But it's also, it's not like you seek perfection. I also know it's okay not to be not to be perfect. Yeah, it's something I actively am looking out for and to grow as a person.
And as a leader, when I hear you speak, because when we met last September in one of your trainings locations, Anouk, I think we shortly touched upon the subject of authentic leadership. And for me, to give you an example, Jacinda Ardern, for me, is an authentic leader. As we speak, she is still the 40th Prime Minister of New Zealand, someone who is leading strong, but with empathy and kindness. And I think it is so strong and vulnerable, to step back, knowing when your tank is empty and knowing when the time has come to step back, knowing that your tank is empty, knowing when your time has come to work on your inner engineering and think things through. She made a conscious choice for herself and what the job requires. And I heard her say, we give all that we can for as long as we can, and then it's time. And knowing when to take the lead and when to step back, for me, that is conscious and authentic leadership. What are your thoughts on that, Anouk?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's funny you say that because for me, leadership indeed, it's the yin and the yang.
Young.
You know, you can be, and if I look at myself, you can be very wanting to grow, wanting to go for results, you know, have a drive to make a difference, to have an impact. But at the same time, there's also the female energy, the yin energy of caring, of listening, of empathy. And so it's a real balance of yin and yang. And I think indeed the last 50 or 100 years again in the corporate world, there's, or even globally in leadership roles, it's been too much male power, you
Yeah.
know, and I'm not talking about men as such, but male energy. And again, at the cost of the female energy. And yeah, that's probably why we are now going through the crisis that we are going through, because it's probably not an era of change, it's a change of era.
Yeah.
It's a rebalancing of the yin and the yang. But I must admit, it's confusing for people, you know, for my management team, because I have the leadership of yin and yang. I'm going for decisions and it needs to move ahead, but at the same time, I want to care for people and look after them. And so my management team, they struggled in the beginning to know, hang on, so who's Anouk? Because it's and strong and sweet, if you want to, you know, but it's the and.
It's the both and
it's
absolutely.
both, but probably the previous leaders, it was much more unilateral or unidirectional. And literally, I had another professor of the university in Antwerp who was teaching about this and was saying that actually narcissistic and male, you know, singular leaders are actually often easier to work with because at least they're consistent in one way. Whereas indeed, I can really look from both angles and then still make decisions, but it's not always the easiest to work with, I guess.
Listening to you, Anouk, is music to my ears. Truly.
Indeed, Anouk,
It is
indeed.
Oh,
true. It
really?
is true indeed. And you know, I am in a field, as you know, I work in education and I even teach classes in HR. And to be honest with you, sometimes I wonder whether or not education is providing the kinds of skills that you are
Ah.
looking for.
Mm-hmm.
How are we doing? You know, how are we
Ah,
in universities
yes,
faring in providing
yes.
experts to the field?
Well, let's say I really feel sorry. And again, we're coming at the end of an era. We as a society are changing so quickly that unfortunately our educational system, it's so huge, it's so ingrained in old ways of working that also that system starts to, I wouldn't say collapse, but starts to become under so
Age.
much pressure
Yep.
because we are so trained on cognitive skills and we
Mm-hmm.
on knowledge. But look at ChatGPT. You know,
That's
is it
right.
still really relevant to have all that
Scares
knowledge?
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So, but what you start to feel, I mean, I have three teenagers, you know, at school. So it really starts to become very much attention because they lose the purpose and they lose the sense of what are we really doing here because it does not make any sense anymore. So I must admit that unfortunately, a lot of the best teachers are quitting because they want to do it differently. They want to do out of passion and out of belief in a different way. But the administrative old system requires X, Y, Z, and even more justification and even more proof points. And so what we believe in, we as recruitment company or talent placement company, we see the gap. It
Mm-hmm.
starts to become even more painful of what the companies require and what we get coming out of the educational system. But we don't want to just accept that. So we've done just 2 acquisitions of training businesses so that we will hire the will. We see the people with a will. The company, is a need, and we will train the skill. We will do it as a recruitment agency. We will do it and help them to train for the skills that are required for our customers. So, but that's obviously, again, it's a gap that we see and feel, and we can complain every day, but it won't
Mm-hmm.
change anything.
Right. Yeah.
So we want to try and help, to reskill and upskill more people to be ready for the requirements that the companies already need today. So,
I understand completely. Would you say that education should trump skills, or should it be the other way around?
well, I think that probably self leadership, and the inner motivation of people to unlock their potential. That's what education should work on.
Right.
That
Self-directed learning.
self-directed learning, be aware of your talents. What are your talents?
Yes.
What is your passion? What is your
Yes.
path? And the sooner school can help with that and unlock that potential and that awareness, if they could already achieve that, the rest will follow. Yeah. And basic skills of looking for balance, you know having some meditation with all the challenge that we all have, with I mean, this is this device that is now 24/7 with us. Our brain needs to adapt so quickly to all these stimuli. So how can we cope better if education can help with that, of kind of self-mastery, discipline, balance? That would already be phenomenal.
So perhaps working on the softer skills or transversal
Absolutely.
skills, for
Absolutely.
example, is what you would actually suggest.
Absolutely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So bring it on, Beverly.
Well, I'm just thinking to myself that perhaps I do need to come and listen on to your class in one of your classes. There's just so much I can learn from you
Yeah.
and what businesses are actually doing in terms of training and looking to train people for a future. So that is something I would actually want to take my students to visit you to see what you're
Welcome.
doing in the workplace.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And look, as I hear both of you speaking, I mean, the three of us are a little bit of the same age, I think. Quite.
Yes.
We, as I think back of our times where we white knuckled our way through, and I have an 18-year-old son. When I see the difference now, how he and his friends are viewing at work and at the world, and when I have conversations with my son, he says, "Mama, I'm not going to do that, working almost day and night." And I
Correct.
remember the times I asked my team leader or my chef to take a day off, and he said no. And I said, okay. And I just, it didn't came to my mind to think in another way. It was just do the job, white knuckle your way through, and make the best of it. So I know a lot of people say sometimes, the millennials, a little bit of sometimes a bit negative talk about those young people. But on the other hand, I also admire the fact that they say, no, there is also a life. And I
Absolutely.
also like my son has a few teachers who are slashies. They teach
Yeah.
math, slash
Yeah.
is a DJ in the weekend,
Yeah.
or his
Or a
economics
cook. Yeah.
teacher,
Yeah.
slash
Slash.
working in hospitality. I like that. And
Yeah.
I'm such a big believer in the multi potential of all of us. I think that is a wonderful thing. We all have that. But we come from an era, you learn this and you're
Yeah.
doing that the rest of your
For
life. And
30 years.
yeah,
Exactly. Yes,
and I think
exactly.
I switched 10 years ago also from economics and the corporate world into neuroscience, now back into the corporate world. But yeah, there's so much that we have inside of us. And it's also so beautiful how your company deals with that, because when I look at your website, I saw the gig house where solo entrepreneurs can apply for jobs. I love the 60s where 60 plus people can apply for jobs. So my heart lights up when I see all the things you are doing at Accent.
Well, it's a whole team. It's not me.
Of course,
Me.
you all are doing at Accent, of
And to
course.
team.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, yeah, I mean, it's really seeing what is coming. So having a feeling for the trends, seeing the needs in society, and coming with, with answers or with solutions, and trial and error. To be honest, we had quite a few other things that are not on the website anymore because they have failed and they have not been successful. But indeed, we dare to reinvent ourselves, and absolutely, and we dare to innovate from the inside out, because for example now jobs, it's also a digital platform for flexi and students. It's already really big, probably the biggest European platform by now, but it started from within, because normally disruption, there's always an outsider who has a frustration and who doesn't think in these boxes, and they totally disrupt it from the outside, and then the old establishment is kind of a bit shocked and tries to copy. But we really did it from within, and so actually it started from a session, how to kill accent.
Ah,
So our own people have worked for 2 days with academics. So it was, we so much believe in collaboration. So it was a 2-day session where we looked ourselves into, and that was before my time actually. And so it was like, okay, what can we do to kill accent? What would it? And now Jobs was born, and it's already almost 100 million business. So in Belgium. So yeah, so indeed it's daring to question and being in touch with what lives in society.
How cool is that?
and look, the three of us are parents. If you had a magic wand, what would you wish the world to develop for the generations to come? Maybe
Oh.
what can we do to do for our youngsters, because they're not having an easy time?
No, I think this is probably right here, right now, because it's the shift of that new era. These are the most weird times and difficult times, I guess. It's crisis in every single domain, and the media is fueling that with fear, and it's energy crisis and health crisis and geopolitical crisis and climate crisis, and so our poor children, they're in the midst of all that. But to be honest, the answer will be in their
In
hands,
there.
and
I
yeah,
agree.
I
they
agree.
I
they
agree, Anouk.
it will come from them. It won't come from us.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, yeah.
Yes. I
So
listen to my daughter Anouk and she says, "Listen, bring on this new world. I
exactly,
cannot wait."
exactly,
That's what she says. I
exactly,
cannot wait for the
exactly.
new world.
They all
Because you know
feel this
what?
is wrong. Yeah,
Exactly. They are fed up of the things we have done.
exactly,
Full stop.
exactly, exactly.
It
And
is.
yeah, and actually, a new reality, as you were mentioning, Danielle, like youngsters, they won't work for 40 hours a week anymore.
That's
And it's like,
right.
oh, we can be angry, we as company leaders, oh, shame on them, these lazy bastards, they only want to work 30 hours.
Yeah,
But no, they are
yeah.
totally wrong. Look at what we did.
That's
Look at the
right.
mess we made, in
Yep.
their personal lives, how many divorces, how many,
That's right. No
we all,
friends.
no friends, burnout,
Yeah.
depression, you name it. We made
Yeah,
all the
yeah.
mistakes, of our lives, and our children, they will do better. They
That's
won't
true.
make the
I
mistakes
agree.
we made,
I agree.
so they need our mistakes. Like, we wanted to do better than our parents that probably was still developing more financial independence or more knowledge. We went to study to university and all of that. But now our children want to be better than us, but it's not necessarily financially. Probably they will have less. It's the first generation that will have less financially,
Yeah.
but they will have many more other things, and amongst them balance,
Quality of life.
Yeah.
quality of
Yeah.
life, and not
Absolutely.
quantity.
Self-care,
Exactly.
fitness, healthy.
Yes,
Yeah. I
absolutely.
believe they're
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean, I have never seen a generation of people so beautiful. And guess what? Intelligent at the same time.
Very
Smart.
smart and wise.
Smart.
Wise.
Wise.
Yeah.
Wise
Wise,
at their
smart, and
age.
beautiful. When I was growing up, you're either intelligent or ugly. It's
True.
Today they have it all wrapped in one,
Yeah.
honestly, because they
Yeah.
see the need to do so. I just
Yeah.
love them. I
Yeah.
really truly
Yeah.
believe that they are
Yeah.
going to change things around.
Absolutely.
Dear
Absolutely.
younger listeners, this is a shout out to all of you. Enjoy this. I love this. I love it. Anouk, as our podcast is called The Naked Truth About, what is a truth you can bring to the table today that not much people know about you or that they sometimes get wrong about you?
Good question. Well, probably a fact, it's not a truth. A fact is that I started studying traditional Chinese medicine. So at my 40s, I decided my passion was so big and I got so intrigued that I realized maybe I might not get retired. I might not live until then. So I will do it now.
Wow.
Yeah, I started to study traditional Chinese medicine, and I'm still practicing this for my family in a direct way. Obviously, I'm not a trained doctor or nurse or physicist, so I'm not allowed to do it in a broader way. But still, I have the degree. But the truth, I think my biggest growth now, or is probably find myself in a better balance with male and female power or female energy. So to be strong and sweet, and that it's not confusing for people. And I guess that's still the path to allow even more that female energy, to give it space. But obviously, I've been trained in a male environment. I've been trained to talk straight and to be directive, and it worked well. I was literally in very male environments, including the beer brewery, of course. I was the only woman in a male board. But yeah, finding even more confidence, embracing that female energy, that is still a growth opportunity for myself. Yeah.
Beautiful, Anouk. Beautiful.
Indeed. And I can smell and hear that sweet spirit from a distance. How
Yeah.
wonderful is that?
Oh, well.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you. Thank you.
so much, Anouk.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for being on our podcast. And dear listeners, we invite you to join us as we explore our own and other people's life and work stories. We will talk to a variety of people with all kind of backgrounds, and we have lots of knowledge to share. So let us learn out loud together and explore how we can better interact with each other in our private lives and in our work life. So let's keep on nurturing our souls. Thank you all for listening. Have a good week and be kind, because the world needs a hospitality mindset.
And that is the naked truth.